chug some beers and make some bad gambling picks. Welcome to ChuggieBets.
Memes on TikTok a bunch, and Missy and I actually talked about it today, and it kind of got in my head. So I just got to ask you, Matto, how often do you think about the Roman Empire?
How often do I think about the Roman Empire? Like the Roman Empire exclusively, or like the impact? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, when was the last time you thought about the Roman Empire? Anything to do with the Roman Empire?
I don't know. Like it's got to be like 30 days ago. I don't know where this is going, but it's been a while. I don't.
Okay.
Al, when was the last time you thought about the Roman Empire?
So
Anything to do with the Roman
obviously
Empire?
I've seen this. I've seen this going around too, and the question got posed in one of my text groups, and I was like, initially I was going to say, well, no, I don't think about the Roman Empire very much, and then I was like, let me think about like any instances, and I was like, well, I saw an interview with Gerard Butler where he mentioned getting the role as Leon. I saw a video clip on how the Romans built the aqueducts. There was at least one or two other things that I was like, oh shit. I saw a thing that was like busts of all Roman emperors, like the whole timeline. So I would say, especially since this has become like a meme, I've seen it more, but I would say probably a couple times a week.
I definitely notice it more since it was a meme, but there's a couple of things that I say in my life fairly regularly. Like if some sort of betrayal happens, I'll go E2 brute, right?
Mhm.
If I'm doing something that I'm not, like if I'm somewhere else and I'm doing something like the other people there, I'll go when in Rome. I tend to mention the Ides of March even when it's not March. I'll call it the Ides of whatever month it is if I notice it's the 15th.
The Ides of September.
Yeah.
The Ides of
So
September.
like as a tax deadline thing, we it's like a joke that I don't know, it just happens.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Because the 15th is always the deadline. So yeah, it comes up all the time. But the number one thing that I literally, this was the one that I think about it fucking all the time. Aqueducts, man.
Yeah, it's
They're
fucking
amazing.
crazy.
They're fucking amazing. So like it'll be like I'm taking a shower or I drive by a fucking water tower and I'm like, so we have this complex system of getting water pressure from somewhere to it's
Gravity.
not pumps.
From gravity.
But we're still using the same technology that the fucking Romans built, and they just did it with like a fucking skinny ass wall, a network of little walls with a little trench in the middle of it.
They did it with like a string. They're just
I know,
like,
but I'm regularly thinking that like when water's coming out of a water fountain, I'm like, the Romans did this shit with an aqueduct, and I'm drinking out of it. I'm like, that's weird that I think about that now that this meme comes up all the time. That like I'm like, yeah, I think about the aqueducts a lot. That's about it.
So if I were to
married
say,
an architect in the aqueducts,
I
the keystone. Do you ever think about
once a week?
Do you ever think about keystones?
Yeah,
like in an arch, the thing that goes right in the middle is the keystone.
Is that a Roman thing or is that like an Irish thing or something?
I think it's Roman. I think it was Roman architecture, but I could be wrong. I could go ask the architect, but I'm not going to wake her up.
Yeah, go wake her up.
Let's just assume it's Roman.
We're doing the podcast. Who invented the keystone?
If I said I had a Caesar salad last week, does that mean I thought about the Roman Empire?
So the Caesar salad was invented in Mexico. So
so here's the thing: if when you ordered the Caesar salad, you thought about Julius Caesar, then yes, and if not, then it didn't.
You didn't think about like Cesar as tourist from Mexico or whatever.
Cesar. No, I didn't. Cesar salad? No, I did not. But I just didn't know. I'm assuming Caesar was spelled that way.
Picturing going to a restaurant and being like, I'll have one Cesar salad. That's how I'm ordering them from now on. Every salad is a Cesar salad.
No, that's a very good question. I'm sure I think of it more than the aqueduct thing is amazing. Like Bernoulli principle that applies into it, like pressure going low to high. In water, it's
hydraulics.
Wild.
That's a thing I think about often, like more often than the average person probably. Like that shit is crazy.
Mostly only when I'm riding like the space shuttle ride at I don't even remember the name of it, at Disney World. You know, where you go up and down and they use the hydraulics to make the thing spin in circles.
Push this one down and this one goes up. Push this one down and this one goes up. It's fucking weird, crazy.
Well, welcome to ChuggieBets, everybody.
Welcome to the sports podcast, guys.
When in Rome is the podcast. The Ides of September are here, and we've got a podcast for you. I got Danny to the left of me. I got Al further to the left. Let's drink some beer, boys.
Kind of like our political spectrum.
That's actually this picture probably does it. All right, let's do a little cleanup before we get into the fun shit. What do you say? Last week the boys had about a 500 week. Really highlighted by Andy. I guess Al won percentage wise. So Al was one game over 500 with a tie. Did win a chuggy bet. Andy was 2 games over 500 with 2 ties and won a chuggy bet. Sunshine was 1 game under. Welcome back to the real world, Sunshine. You've been on a heater. I'm sure you will pick it up next week. Danny was a couple games under. I was a couple games under. Not a banner week for the boys, but either way,
we're treading water. We're treading water. We're learning more each week.
But the most important part is Al gets a chuggy bet, and he gets an extra chuggy bet because it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Al.
Happy birthday, Al.
Ooh, thank you. Cheers.
All right. Before you guys do anything else and we get into any other topics, if you like the content we're making or you hate the content we're making, either way, make sure you comment that, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. Just make sure you're spreading the word because we're trying here, and we'll get better and better. Leave all the comments there, and we'll try to incorporate your comments into the next podcast. Danny, did you
want our hot take on something? Let us know.
All right, let's talk about college football last week. There were a lot of primetime premier games, and I kind of think most of them didn't live up to the billing. But one that was dog shit for most of it, but really fun at the end was Ohio State Notre Dame. The game was really low scoring. Was it 0-0 through the first half? It was like a Big Ten West game broke out in South Bend. But the end of the game was weird. Things got real weird, including I know Notre Dame's a smart school. Al, can you count to 11? Are you able to count to 11?
Yeah, most days.
Danny, are you able to count to 11? It's XI in Roman, by the way. Are you able to count to XI?
In English, Spanish, and apparently Roman.
Okay, fair enough. Do you think Al Golden can count to 11? Because I don't think so.
Al Golden was a coach in Miami for a long time. He could not put 11 good players on the field once. So, no.
That is so true.
True words never spoken. The crazy part was, if you guys haven't seen it, Ohio State gets to the 2-yard line. They take a timeout. So both teams convene.
3-0 in the first half, by the way.
3-0. I'm sorry. Both teams come out, and I believe it is Notre Dame is winning by 4 at this point. Both teams come back out. Ohio State has basically 20 seconds left to try to punch the ball in. They have a couple plays. Notre Dame comes out of a timeout, mind you, and they only have 10 guys on the field. They stop the offense on the first play, miraculously. Then someone in the booth realizes with 5 seconds left, they only have 10 defenders. They just run it on the left side where there's only 2 defensive linemen on the middle and the left side, and they run in easily. What the hell am I supposed to do with this? I feel like heads have to roll in a game like this. You can't make this mistake. There's
so many things I want to talk about with this game. One is Ryan Day. I hate him. He nearly sabotaged this game with his boneheaded galaxy braining on offense. He's running the stupidest. He ran a jet sweep on 4th and half a yard, and it's why do people try and outsmart it, man? Just if you don't think you can pick up a half yard running it straight forward, then pass it. The jet sweep almost never works on 4th down. Almost never works. He also did that stupid hard count thing where he's got his quarterback in a shotgun, oh, let me go hurt. And that shit never works. Come on.
So I would like to, we talked a lot about the very end of this game, but Al Golden's defense, Al Golden the fuck out of the plays right before that. They had a 3rd and 19 from the 22. It gave up a 22 or from the 20, from the 22 and gave up a 21-yard pass to get them down to that 1-yard line. And then they were out there with 10 men. They had 2 incomplete passes. right?
Yeah.
Before Ohio State even realized, oh wait, there's only 10 guys, we should just run. But I guess they kind of did that because there was only like 10 seconds and they were just playing.
Yeah,
I
they
don't know
did.
why Notre Dame
Yeah,
didn't sub someone on after one of those incomplete passes.
yeah, very dumb.
Take the penalty.
What's the
I
difference
think there
in
was
6
one pass,
inches?
and it was that stupid
A player.
bootleg out to Marvin Harrison Jr. that was also a bad play call. Really, you've really got to work hard to outdo Ryan Day when it comes to like self-sabotage. Like this game, that like Notre Dame, hats off to you. You really gave this one away. One thing I want to talk about with this game, as it pertains to betting, is the spread on this game. Depending on when you got it, was either 3 or 3.5. And if you were on 3, you had Ohio State with the ball, 3 seconds on the clock, last play of the game. They need a touchdown. They run the ball in, and initially they call the game over. There's no time left on the clock.
It was the greatest moment. I was feeling amazing.
Which means it's a 2-point win, and Notre Dame +3 covers. But after lengthy review, they realize there's still a second left. So they trot the extra point out there, the special teams out there to kick the extra point to get the push and then do, your stupid kickoff shit. And I was like, man, I feel like it was Vegas on the line being like, look, we're overexposed. You guys got to review this. Give me a second, get that extra point in. I had so much fun.
It did feel sketchy. It was clearly 1 second left, but that play, when they showed the replay, it was 1 second for 5 seconds in slow motion. I don't know what a slow motion second is to a regular second, but the conversion didn't seem right when I was watching.
Didn't add up. Yeah.
And this starts like a fun week of coaches with crazy speeches. And I want you to read, I'm going to read Ryan Day's post-game speech. Toughness, that's it. Physicality across the board, finishing it off and having guts. I like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. I'm just going to stop there. Why is Lou Holtz taking bullets? The guy is like 90 years old. What are you doing? I guess Lou Holtz was on an interview where something happened where he was saying.
Yeah, they brought him in on game day, and he said that basically Ryan Day, Ohio State can't get it done. Notre Dame's tougher up front, and they're going to bully them on the offensive line, and they got the better defense and all that. Again, it's a dude who's senile who shouldn't be on TV to begin with, and you're like, dragging old grandpa.
Yeah.
I mean, you just described like half of College Game Day, I think.
Yeah,
that's true. Where do you think Lou Holtz was at that point? He had to be in bed, right? It was like 11 o'clock at night. There was no way he was at the stadium. There was no way he was watching the game.
I'm confident he was not even asleep in a recliner. That man was straight up in bed with his like what's the dude from Christmas Carol, Ebenezer Scrooge PJs on with his little hat,
nightcap,
and
his little candle on a plate.
He sounded just like he was like having a press conference after a Senate hearing.
He does.
Sorry.
Let's go to another game with crazy quotes. Let's go to Oregon, Colorado. I would have sworn with the press coverage that Colorado was the favorite. They would go at halftime of the Clemson-Florida State game. They didn't talk about the Clemson-Florida State game. They just showed like Deion Sanders eating a sandwich. They showed Dan Lanning walking into the game. I was like, it's 20 minutes. I get you want to tease the games. There's games going on right now. I would like to see what's happening.
Just showing Deion coming back from commercial every time for the game. It was silly.
So especially after hearing the Oregon coach's halftime speech and his post-game speech, that beatdown felt racist. Like straight up. Yeah.
So way too far left that way. I think that beatdown was just like what happens when the worst team from college football last year plays like a top 10 team from this year.
I agree. I really love the speech. Like they do it for clicks. Or no, we played the game. I can't remember exactly. I'll
go. He say we played the game the right way,
but we play for wins.
Yeah,
he didn't do the we play the game the right way, did we? But then accidentally like do his L's and W's wrong or something.
He also said that Colorado is too Hollywood.
So. Colorado's very Hollywood. That's a good point.
Can I be the defense attorney really quick? I don't disagree with Dan Lanning, and I was kind of happy. Like, it felt like normalcy had returned.
It's not what he said; it's how he said it. Does that make
No.
sense?
Look, he's in a locker room where it's not like he's talking to a bunch of people wearing like pillowcases over their head, right? He's talking to a football locker room. He's trying to get them fired up.
For sure.
You know, like he was trying to get it fired up and trying to get everyone rolling. And the game was dog shit. It was not fun to watch.
Oregon as a state founded as a place that black people weren't allowed to live. Pretty sure that's true.
I don't know.
Like
it's either Oregon as a state or Portland as a city.
I think Portland as a city is still that way. Yeah, I didn't really take anything else other than like we could end the Shedeur Sanders Heisman talk. And look, it's not on him. That Oregon team's very good. Colorado's not very good. They're getting hurt. They don't have quality depth. It's going to be a tough ride.
It's a real bad time for Travis Hunter to be out for a month, having to face Oregon and then USC back to back, and whoever else comes after that. But
just a piece of advice: if you're going to play the most difficult sport on your body, maybe don't try and play all of the plays. Just do half of them, like everybody else.
I agree with you, especially in high altitude where it's harder for your body to recover with the oxygen levels. But that dude's a freak athlete, and he wasn't hurt because of fatigue. He was hurt because he got a lacerated liver from a hit. So it's a little, I get what you're saying. I agree with you.
Okay.
You know, but
I didn't really know the details of his injury.
Yeah, he cut his organ, which is great. That's a good. That's a fun injury.
Maybe if he wasn't so tired from playing both ways, he could have protected himself, Matt.
It's true. That's true.
It was like 5 seconds after the whistle.
it was real dirty.
It
was a very flagrantly dirty hit.
He hadn't played defense yet. It was that pass or whatever where the guy hit him.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
you still make a good point, though.
No, you're right.
No, it's a terrible point. It's literally a terrible point, given the details. This is why you shouldn't follow my picks.
You're doing a great job, buddy. You're going to turn it around this week with your new game. We'll get into Danny's new game. Stay with us. We got a new game coming up. Let's go with it. The 7:30 window was full of terrible football games that were exciting, including one with the most impressive outcome, the most surprising outcome of the week. Northwestern, which I didn't think they had lights at their stadium. For some reason, I was under the impression that they didn't have lights at their stadium, but they had a night game. So I don't know if they drove in lights or like they had a blimp fly over the top with some spotlights on it. But they come through and had an overtime winner against Minnesota. Al, I know you were really into the Big Ten Network that night as you were texting me. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, there were. I forget what the other Big Ten Network game that was going on was also, but there were two. I
remember getting the text from Al saying, "I wish I had 2 Big Ten networks." Nobody's ever sent that text.
You're the only person.
But Northwestern managed to force overtime with Minnesota, and not only that, but they won in overtime. And it was like, this is a team that has probably maxed out their win potential on the season already. But they, I don't know. I like seeing a scrappy underdog pull one off. It's always fun.
It is. I didn't really watch any of the other game. I was done watching Big Ten bad football on the main channel because Penn State was playing Iowa. Let's do a quick Brian Ferentz update for his race to 300 points. Going into this game, he had 85 points of offense, 28 1/3 point per game. After this game, he had 85 points of offense.
Yeah, he only needed 15 points to keep pace, right? And
15 points, and he got
a little bit short.
He was a little short.
15 short.
15 short. He had 0 points. Now, let's summarize the game. I don't even know if Penn State played great. I don't know. I don't think they did play great, but they won by 31 points. So if you're an under better, just keep betting Iowa unders. It's not worth it. Like, it's not worth doing anything else against Iowa. But here are some stats. There were 74 yards of offense for Iowa in the game. If you started from the 10-yard line, that doesn't get you to a touchdown. So they didn't go one length of the field.
In
You said
college, that might
74
not
yards?
even get you into field goal range.
It may
So
not.
Unlike
from
it's technically field goal
74
range. But
yards, you could start from a touchback at the 25 and still not get a touchdown.
You're 1 yard short. That's true. You're
you'd have to
correct.
call up Ryan Day to get in.
Oh, that's good.
They threw for 42 yards.
Wow.
They had 4 first downs. That's a first down a quarter. That's even distribution there. And really, the extrapolation of this as far as their offensive prowess for the whole season is take a guess at how many times a wide receiver has caught a ball on Iowa this year in 4 games.
So in 4 games, how many completions have been
To a
made
wide
to a
receiver.
wide receiver? Well, there's at least like 2 or 3. Well, for Iowa, probably 2 receivers on any given play.
Mhm.
They throw the ball, let's say 20 times a game. It's 80 attempts. I'm going to say
10% to the receivers minimum. 8 would be
30.
the.
30.
I'm only saying because you're asking in a low number. I'm going 8.
Yeah, I'm assuming low, so I'm going to say 30. 30 receptions.
14
That's
receptions
so
to wide
low.
receivers.
That is so low.
3.5 per game. For comparison's sake, Army has 28 to their wide receivers. Army has 28. Really
Wow.
let that marinate. Yeah, that's a terrible offense. I'm getting to the point
So
where
there
Go
are
ahead.
there are good offenses that don't throw to their wide receivers though. And I got a couple in the chamber here to throw out
Let's
there.
go.
So if you think back, Donovan McNabb did not have good wide receivers to throw to for a very long time
Okay.
until he got Terrell Owens. I believe he was thrown to some guy named Thrash for like 6 or 7 years. Was his best receiver.
James Thrash.
And they had some very good offenses. He had a good tight end on that team, and he had running backs that could just catch the ball and go forever. So
Brian Westbrook? Was
Yep.
he the running back for that team?
yeah,
Okay,
that's the
okay,
name.
yeah, he was good.
NFL 2K baby. Brian
He was
Westbrook was
good.
like the man in that game. And then this is one you guys are gonna love. The Chiefs, Trent Green's Chiefs. Eddie Kennison was the best receiver on those teams.
Oh my God.
And
That
he
is-
was garbage. He caught like 20 balls a year as the number 1 receiver. But the tight end Tony Gonzalez was catching 100 balls, and then the running backs out of the backfield again. I mean, could be anybody. It could have been Larry Johnson.
Eddie Kennison? God, no
Who-
wonder Trent Green got his brain scrambled.
who was the other running back from Texas before?
Ricky Williams? Before Ricky?
No, the one for the Chiefs. They had like
Cedric
3.
Benson.
No, he didn't play for the Chiefs. I can't remember his name right now, but they had like 3 or 4 good running backs that were also great patch catchers that were awesome. Larry Johnson was from Penn State, but he played there for a little while. But they had 2 or 3 before that were also fantasy monsters.
Christian Okoye.
Not the one I was thinking of. I think it was like I mean, I'm gonna Google it while you guys move on. But yes, you don't have to have good receivers to have a good offense. But Iowa, you need to have those other awesome players that we're talking about, and you don't have them. So maybe get those if you don't want to have good receivers. Is the point?
Well, the problem with Iowa.
Is Cade McNamara in hell?
Oh God, it's got to be the worst place on earth. I can't think of a more miserable place. I would rather be in limbo, in Dante's limbo, than be on Iowa's offense. Actually, that's a great poll question. Would you rather be in Dante's
Priest Holmes.
limbo? Priest Holmes was a good Texas too.
Baltimore
Yeah,
Raven Priest Holmes.
I would rather be in Dante's hell or Dante's limbo. I don't want to be in Dante's hell, but. All right,
Yeah.
Let's go to a game I thought was entertaining, but I obviously had stakes in it. So I'm going to let you start with the talking about it. I don't know if you watched the Clemson-Florida State game and you had any takeaways from it.
So I was at a baby shower. What do you call it? At the mixed couples baby shower. Boys and girls allowed. Swingers, swinging.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
But yeah, the game. Luckily enough, the game was on TV.
Al, you need to just golf during those.
Yeah.
Anytime you get invited to a baby shower, you just be like, "Oh, sorry, I can't. I have to golf."
Yeah, I mean that's just a good excuse. Period.
Move on. Tell your story.
But the game was pretty good. I thought Clemson hung in there, and FSU wasn't really playing very well. But once that game went to overtime, I was like, it really felt like Dabo did that thing where you play for a tie to force overtime, and like everyone but Dabo knows that that's the worst decision. Like that game's not going to go well in overtime, and then it didn't. And you're like, okay, you decided.
I don't think Dabo was
when
playing for a tie. I thought he tried to win the game when he kicked the field goal.
He did try to win the game. I'm glad you brought that up, Danny. I don't know. You guys may not
College
have had the
kickers, am I
broadcast.
right?
Did you guys hear about the story with this
Yeah.
kicker?
Nah.
No, they brought in a kicker, and I can't remember his name. It's a cool name. His last name is Gunn, and I'm going to call him Tommy Gunn, but it's like Robbie Gunn. And he was supposedly able to kick a ball 70 yards. They were talking
Rocky 5 or whatever, Tommy Gunn.
Yeah, exactly. And the first 3 or 4 games, he kind of sucked at kicking the ball. He's a freshman, right? That he has tons of leg power, but can't make it accurately. So they called a guy that was a walk-on last year who was going to start working in New York City, but he was taking some courses online at Clemson, right? Instead of taking his job, his finance job that he had lined up, he went back to school because Dabo called him personally. He's like, hey, why don't you kick for us? So it was a beautiful story. First field goal he makes, oh, great. First extra points he makes, oh, great. And then he gets to a 29-yarder where, like, the game's on the line and he shanked it.
Oh, great.
I don't know how I felt about it. I felt terrible for the story because they were making him a hero and he ends up being a villain. And he's just like some kid, right? He's actually an adult now. He's got like a finance job in New York City. But
Is that I don't know. I get my kickers confused. Isn't there someone has a kicker who's like 35 with like a family, like 3 kids? Is that him?
Miami always
Some other
pulls
team.
guys that were like on backup foot, like the second tier footy league.
Mm-hmm.
That are like in there because or to be our punters. We haven't done it to be a kicker yet, but like that's like our MO.
Yeah.
Oh, do you guys have one now? An Aussie kicker, Aussie punter?
We had one for a while, and I think we got another. I don't know if
Headley?
he's starting for us now. Headley was our punter for a while, and I don't know if I know we got another to replace him, but I think he only lasted a year.
I want a Florida State Miami. If someone isn't doing the sponsorship, Florida State's punter is also Australian. They should be some fun like Qantas sponsorship about those games when the rivalry. Yeah, a Macca's commercial.
Hungry
Looks like Headley's still our punter.
Okay, so good. Someone needs Australia. I know you're listening. Do something about this. I don't know what to do, but do something.
It happen.
Nope. Headley plays for the Saints.
Good for him. My takeaway was this: we can't run the ball. Florida State cannot run the ball. Jordan Travis was clearly hurt, and he got more hurt as the game went on. So it's a really good week to be a bye week. I also don't think Travis will probably start, even if he is healthy, against Virginia Tech. I think they'll probably know they're playing Virginia Tech and rest him. And if they can, right? That's going to depend on gameplay.
He's not really in the Heisman running right now. Like his stats haven't been good enough, so taking that game off is probably the best thing for the season because you guys are still national championship contenders.
Yeah, we're still in the playoff race, and I don't think we're good enough, right? Everything from the last 2 weeks has made me. We played a C game.
I completely disagree with you. I think you are good enough because you won those 2 games, and I don't think anybody is significantly good enough that like you wouldn't be able to compete with them.
That's true. This is a weird year, I guess is a better way of putting it. I don't know who's really good at all. Like I think Washington's really good.
I think all the teams that we normally talk about are really good like they always are. There's just not like the professional team like Alabama usually is. I mean, Georgia was like the last couple of years.
Georgia's still a monster, but they do look a lot more beatable this year.
They were down by 3 to UAB at the half.
Yeah, it's just that no one else in the SEC like looks like they're capable of toppling Georgia. So Georgia's going to be in it, but it's like
Georgia's 2002 Miami, 2005 or 6 USC. They're like at the end of their run right now of like having all the best players forever. They're in their reload year. We'll see if they can like do the Alabama where they just keep reloading forever. But they're definitely not like most of those national championship teams are all playing in the NFL right now.
Yeah. I thought the game was fun, and we'll see where Florida State goes from here. They got a bye week; they could really use it. I'm glad to win. I think we played a B- game, and we won on the road at Clemson. And we haven't won there since 2014. So hell yeah! And playing there every other year, it's embarrassing. And we hadn't won in the last 7 against them. So I love it when streaks come to an end, especially when I'm the beneficiary. One more game I do want to talk about. We should talk about Virginia, NC State, but we don't have time here. Let's talk about App State. App State what an ending of like a whirlwind. I don't think the bet was ever in question, right? Was Wyoming was a big cover, but they had a big number on that, Al, or am I
No,
missing?
I'm pretty sure. That it cost App State the cover. I think App State was like 5.5-point favorites or something like
Oh.
that, and they were up by 5, kicking a field goal to go up by 8 with just under 2 minutes to go. Wyoming blocked the field goal and returned it for a touchdown and had a 3-point lead. So that
App
was
State
pretty
was
much the end of it.
+3.
App State was +3.
That's what it
Okay,
says
so
right
they ended
here.
up pushing. Okay, yeah, okay. So they ended up pushing instead of getting the win.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those like college football endings where you're just like, did I really see that? Like, why did that shit have to happen?
Yeah.
Wild.
I'm going to bring up the NC State Virginia game as far as weird, dumb college football games that shouldn't have ended. Did you guys watch the end of that game? I know I was adamant that NC State would cover that number, and I was clearly wrong. But Virginia, for everything that Virginia did, of all the remarkable things that they did in that game, they were trying to kill themselves. They got to 1st and goal, and it was 3rd and goal. Somehow they have a personal foul. A guy punches a person in the face, right? So they go 3rd and goal from the 18-yard line.
Like you do in football.
They get the ball in, right? Score a touchdown under miraculous conditions in order to get to a 2-point game. The quarterback takes his helmet off and starts doing like the Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you guys haven't watched Calandria, the quarterback, he is from South Florida, but he's the quarterback for Virginia. He is the most fun quarterback. He is like the dumb quarterback of the week because they were saying he's only played in 50% of the offensive snaps, and he leads the nation in passes over 20 yards, and he also leads the nation in picks. He just throws the ball deep to a very bad team.
He's very NFL Jameis. I like that.
Dude, it's awesome. He took his helmet off in the crowd, not realizing it's a 2-point game. Just starts doing the suck it to everyone. So they give him a personal foul. He has to take the 2-point conversion from the 18-yard line again. They complete it, and they get the 2 points. Tie ball game. NC State works it down because they have another personal foul, and they kick the field goal at the end of the game. It's over, but what an experience. Way to go, Virginia, to make me entertained.
This was a crazy game. I will say that there was a lot of flags in this game. There was a lot of refereeing in this game that was it felt very hey, you guys are going to cover, but you ain't going to win.
Suspicious refereeing.
It was just suspicious. Just
a little bit of look at me officiating kind of thing.
It was fun, though. It was fun to
watch.
watch.
The refs wanted to be the main character.
I don't know if they wanted to be the main character, but it felt like they were being told to.
Yeah. They were very involved, overly involved, Danny. I think you're right about that. Your read there.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I think we'll do the picks on the next podcast. I hope you enjoyed the recap for this week. There's Danny, Al again. Please feel free to like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Make sure to listen to the next one because that's the one where you win money. We tricked you. You thought you were getting picks in this one. Sorry, you have to listen to us ramble.
Sabotaged. We got derailed by the Romans.
Since you listened to the whole thing, I'll give you my first pick. All right,
Ooh.
It's Friday night, Louisville -3.5. Boom.
Any reason? Any reason you're going?
I'll give the reasons on the next one, Matt.
Fair enough. You've got to come back to the next one. It's a
spoiler alert. Somebody here disagrees with me.
Who could it be?
Good night, Al. Good night, Kent. I see you, Al.
Good night,
Joey.
Both you and my Matt. All Matt.
Good night, Andy's coworker.